All right. And we are live. Welcome to the Iron Lords podcast, episode number 48. And it's another glorious Sunday, and we are back at the round table on the Lord's Day. We've got a very special guest, Xbox Game Pass, cloud compute gaming, and can Anthem avoid Destiny Curse to discuss. So we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord who, in my opinion, offers some of the most passionate and brutally honest perspectives in this entire gaming community. While some may be intimidated by her conviction on sensitive topics, this lady always backs up her points with logic and is fearless in exposing the hypocrisy. Introducing the leader of the Lucaholic movement, the RDX podcast first lady.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me. I love your intros. I listened to the one with Fonz, and I was like, damn, he's really good at this.
Thank you. We ain't finished with you, though. One of the most intense, yet hilarious, and fun-loving personalities in the game. Making her debut into the realm of the Lords. My girl, Lady Ashen Luca. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yes.
I told you it's going to be lit.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes.
You couldn't wait. You had to jump in like
That was the first. That was
It
actually
was like, it's on.
Let's do it.
No doubt. How you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, things are great. I'm really looking forward to the show today. I think we're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun
Yes.
today. So we my co-host with the co-most, as far as the usual suspects at the round table, he is missing today. But I think he's got that new gig. So he's earning that money, he's training well. So we will miss Lord Addict. But of course, we have returning our most technical gaming lord, the solo gamer who lives for the single player selfish experience. Offline profile back online this week. My man is going through a traffic jam. What's going on over there?
That's not me. That's not me.
Okay, somebody's going through traffic. My man, Lord Sovereign, how you doing, sir?
What's going on, guys? Great to
Chilling,
be
man.
back, man. Great to be back home. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you guys for my part and for my wife for all the good wishes. We were on our way to the airport when the show came on last week, and I put it on, and when she heard that, like she was really touched. So she really appreciative, man.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, condolences to the family. I'm about to go through it in about 2 weeks myself. When we get older and, family members, you start losing people and, you just want to kind of reflect on the positive,
Yeah. I tell you, man, like this is the first family situation we've gone through as a couple, really. Like, honestly, I can't say that my marriage it's been fantastic. So this is like the first kind of like hard family situation.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's one of those things, like, I didn't know her grandmother that well, not really well at all, because she's had Alzheimer's for a long time. So I've never had a relationship with her or her with me.
Let me say one thing in that right there. Before I die, I would like to catch Alzheimer's. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh my God, that was mad rain.
Like it was
No, you know why? No. You know why? You know why? And I know you're gonna sit there and say this is crazy and this is messed up. No, it's not, because
you want to hit the reset button.
You wanted to reset,
right,
yeah.
those people are because I got a situation going on right now, and we have a grandfather who has Alzheimer's, but he is in the most utopian state. Like, he's in a state of bliss where the outside distractions aren't no more weighing upon him. So it kind of freed him up from all the shackles that was, we put on through life and baggages through life. So hopefully, Alzheimer's weren't a situation where it's a nightmare situation and it's a blissful situation.
Well, it's one of those situations where, like, what hurts most is for the family when she doesn't recognize you anymore and things like that. Like that sort of stuff is what's painful. The thing about Alzheimer's is that in the long term, what it does is, like, your brain doesn't react to your body the way it should. So after a while, it stops sending the proper messages to your body, like, hello, you need to chew, you need to swallow,
that's the problem.
And ultimately it wasn't the Alzheimer's that took her, but I tell you, man, when you're there for family members that are hurting and you see them in pain, that is, oh my Lord.
Trust me. Yeah. I got it coming up too. I got to make the trip to UK.
I did that with my grandparents.
So definitely, guys.
Absolutely glad to have you back. And like I said, your spirits are up, Lord. So that's good. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. It's early.
It's all game, baby.
Let's talk to you. Let's have some fun. And of course, we have the excess gamer.
Ooh.
The Lord of Combat Sports, who is a man of his convictions and demands nothing less than that premium experience.
Ooh.
Beloved Lord King, how are you doing, sir?
We're doing fantastic. Everybody, we are back. It's Sunday and it's fantastic. Yo, check this out. Last night, we had the UFC popping off and we had boxing popping off. Now, this is kind of different from the Showtime boxing, okay? Showtime boxing puts together competitive matches where each person has a chance, or each combatant has a chance to win said match. But HBO does their thing a little bit different. In boxing, we have these things called tomato cans, right? Those are people that you do not know that's in there with a person that you do know. And the tomato can is set up where he is in there to lose. Now, the tomato can might give you 1 or 2 rounds. Anybody gonna give you 1 or 2 rounds, or the tomato can might get blasted out like the tomato can is supposed to be. Well, we had both scenarios yesterday where 1 tomato can got blasted out and 1 tomato can lasted to the distance. This is HBO's crap at its finest. This is stuff that I will never tell you to tune into. This is the reason why combat sports and fighting in general has gotten a bad name. They used to put Mike Tyson in there with a lot of tomato cans. When he started fighting real people, he started getting lumped up.
That sounds like a lot of hate. No, that sounds like a lot of hate.
Yeah. You know, for all you Mike Tyson fans out there, take it. Take it, because when he fought my boy put the beats on him.
Shout out to Holyfield.
Yes, that's right. He had to bite ears. He made him do the unthinkable. You saw your man do the unthinkable when he put his hands up with my boy.
We watched that fight at my house, and I remember Cognito jumping into your arms.
Yes.
Yo, we want money. Listen,
he won the World Series. Like,
you gotta understand, like, Lady Luca, like, we gotta understand, like, we were like the minority of people who thought could actually beat Mike Tyson. During them times, Mike Tyson was so feared. Like, you just didn't go against the grain.
He had people fooled.
But it's like we were like the true believers. We believed our hero could do it.
You know what it was?
It was like just believing, knowing that your guy could do it, and then he did it. And at that time, Holyfield was towards the end of his career.
Yep.
So, you know, people were like, "Oh, he definitely washed now. Like, this is gonna be easy pickings for Mike." And when he did it, I was like, "Yo!" It was such a euphoric feel. I'll never forget. That's why Sovereign is clowning me, because I did probably jump up.
Yeah, you did that. Okay, it's 2 matches in our history where we was dancing around in each other's arms. Actually, it's 3. Okay, it's 1 at the Babalu.
Yes,
with Lord Sovereign.
Club Babalu.
Yeah, when we had De La Hoya, versus Trinidad. Remember that? Yo, everybody in there hated us. No, that was Sweet Pea. That was Sweet Pea versus De La Hoya at the Babalu.
At the Babalu, they loved you for the Trinidad one. They loved you for
that. Yeah. The Trinidad, that was at Imbert's versus De La Hoya. Those people in that house wanted to put a gun to our head and kill us. And the next time was the Mike Tyson and
those are the 3 epic ones. Absolutely.
Oh, and we can't forget Oscar De La Hoya versus Julio Cesar Chavez in that big movie theater that we went to.
Yes, but we almost got killed by 1,000 Mexicans. Yeah. We had to get out of there.
The Mexicans wanted to fight me.
We were a little too loose.
It was about to go down. You know, there's a lot of sports events that, you know, we almost got killed at.
Lady Luca, our mouths are a little reckless when it comes to combat sports, but we get behind our people. We get behind our people during the fight.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
Okay, Okay, so listen. Last night we had Lucas Matisse versus Tomato Can A, and we had Jorge Linares versus Tomato Can B. So let's go with the undercard first. The Jorge Linares versus the Tomato Can B. Tomato Can B goes the distance with Jorge Linares. Jorge Linares boxes his ears off in another masterful fight. They're trying to set up that and Lomachenko. Lomachenko's going to move up. He's targeting that belt, and they're going to get those guys together.
No doubt.
Lucas Matisse got his knockout, and he was supposed to get the knockout over these overmatched poor guys from these third world countries that I don't think that should be fighting 4-round fighters. You know, so shout out to HBO for showing you how it's not supposed to be done. Showtime the week before Showtime showed you the fighters, and they set up their fight list for the year, for the first half of the year, and it was nothing but competitive bouts. If I'm going to tell you to boycott something, because I saw Monique telling people to boycott Netflix. I will not be boycotting Netflix, ma'am. But I will be boycotting HBO. So, yes. Okay. Let's get to this UFC.
What happened with UFC last night? Let's move this
quickly on the boxing. There were 2 knockdowns by Matisse that were just like they were so one of them was a push. He pushed him and he fell under the ropes and he was done. And I said,
like
wait, it wasn't even a punch. It wasn't a punch. I was like, no, it can't be happening. This can't be happening. And then the other knockdown, he hit him with a left hook. He got hit with a return left hook. And then Matisse just caught him with like a glancing right.
Yeah, he flew out.
Oh, my Lord.
He was dead.
You got to say this sound like it's very suspect. It sounds like going fights.
Yeah, this is what happens. Like, you'll have one great week and then you'll have this.
HBO.
It's this roller coaster ride with boxing that I'm so tired of. But yeah,
when you look at it, it's HBO. Let's just call a spade a spade. I know it's HBO.
The quality's just not there. That's just
it's HBO and Oscar De La Hoya. You know, Oscar De La Hoya production.
He's from the pedigree of that.
Real quick. So, what happened with UFC last night?
Well, UFC, I wasn't paying too much attention to all the undercards, but I was paying attention to the main event, which was Jacare. I was busy playing Shadow of War, so Jacare Souza against Derek Brunson. Jacare has something to prove because he got his head pinched off by Robert Whittaker his last time out. He had beaten Derek Brunson before, and Strikeforce knocked him out. Brunson has been kind of on a low little trajectory lately. They've told him. Yeah, he needs to be less aggressive and be more patient in the ring, and it kind of goes against his whole style. And I think, he wanted to be patient against Jacare. He didn't defend his head properly. Jacare caught him with a crescent kick to the side of the head.
Kicked that boy head off.
Yeah, the equilibrium was gone, and Jacare just pounced him.
The highlight looked like his body betrayed him.
It did. It was the best.
It looked like someone, and then like after he kicked him, and he was trying to get away, and then the way Jacare was chasing him, it looked bad funny.
As soon as he kicked him, the kick hit that boogaloo button. He did the boogaloo, and that was it. The boogaloo button, that was it. Like,
I love his name. Jacare. Chocolate blue. Jacare has kicked him in the head again. It was awesome.
Good card. Good setup card, and I also heard that we have Daniel Cormier is gonna fight Stipe. That's official now.
Yes,
he'll get the champion. So good news for UFC this week. Sorry about HBO boxing, Lord Campbell. No, you're a little upset about that. Wasn't that Showtime realness?
No,
we're gonna get back to these games real quick.
Let's do that.
Lord Cognito here, spreading that gaming realness on the ILP. Not telling you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. So before we get into what the Lords are playing, I want to start off with Lady Luca. Her video game system history, what led her to create that great YouTube channel, and of course, being a member of the incredible RDX podcast. So, Lady Luca, let's start with your video game system history. Like, what was the first game systems you had to kind of get you into gaming?
So, I mostly played on handhelds when I was younger, and this is something I say quite often is that I didn't start gaming regularly, like hardcore quotation marks, until this generation actually. But my mom had an SNES, and then I had a GameCube. I had Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy SP, DS, 3DS, 3DS XL, like all those stuff. And I just gamed here and there. I had a PS2, a PS3. And then, like I said, it wasn't until this generation where I was really started getting invested in gaming on a console. And I'm really into single player story driven games, so I've been having a blast. I'm huge fan of Mass Effect, Dragon Age, The Witcher, Skyrim.
This is like, you're just dropping heavy hitters. Like, I was about to ask you your top 5. She just threw out some bombshells. Okay.
Yeah, those are some really amazing games. And like I said, I love story-driven games. They're the best in my opinion.
Nice. So you pretty much came up also like in the Nintendo ecosystem exclusively, I would say, like from handheld and then kind of like to SNES is where you kind of started at. Okay, that's what's up. So let me ask you, because a lot of lords here, we're Sega guys. We're old, but we just want to know if any Sega systems ever snuck through the defenses over there, Lady Luca.
I'm sorry, no, that there isn't Sega systems in this household. Sorry.
She said, no, we didn't do that. We didn't poison our gaming.
Fractionized with the anime.
Potentially perfect. What's up, man? Good to see you in the chat, bro. See,
what's up, Monkey Punch?
No doubt. There's a lot of good people in the chat today. That's what's up. All right, cool. So then we transition there. And then now as far as like the current generation of systems that now did you end up going straight into the PlayStation from the SNES? Like, where did you go after that at that point in your journey?
So I had a PlayStation 3, and then my brother had an Xbox 360. So any games I wanted to play, I would just play on his system. But, since I had a PlayStation 3, I'm like, okay, I have a PlayStation 3. I'll get a PlayStation 4. He's probably going to get the Xbox One. It was just kind of that thing, right? And then 2 years ago, like end of 2016, I picked up an Xbox for that Skyrim remaster with mods. Yes. And I started looking around for Xbox news because, something I noticed is like, well, a lot of people seem to be down on Xbox. Like, I get it. They messed up. And I've heard some things here and there. I wasn't like super invested in what's going on in terms of the gaming news. So I started looking around, and I looked up like Xbox news and stuff, and Xbox Nation popped up. And I was like, oh, okay, this is, what is this? It's like, I didn't know that YouTube had podcasts like that. So I was like, oh, okay, let me just click on this. Why is it 2 hours? It's kind of weird, but whatever. And so I listened, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. And then I started continue listening, and then I moved on to Console Corner, and then BGST, MC Mornings, Crossfire, and I just listened to all those shows. And then when Mooch and Crap started doing MNC, and it was like, oh, people can call in. I was like, oh, that seems kind of cool. Let me call in. And ever since then, it's just kind of been a roller coaster. They heard me. People were like, is that a girl? I can't tell. I had to clarify. I was like, yes, I am a girl. And She-Wolf picked me up for one of her podcasts. And ever since then, I've just been going on other people's shows, doing different shows. And it's been pretty amazing. The community, like I said, there's a lot of BS in the community, but there's a lot of really amazing people who have accepted me with open arms, who have been kind to me, who have elevated me, who've pushed me up. And it was because of them that I started my YouTube channel, because I didn't have any interest in it, but it's just kind of like, I'm on Twitter pretty much every day saying my views, saying, hey guys, perhaps y'all should calm down. It's not that big of a deal when it comes to so many things. Because something I noticed is that the community gets really worked up about stuff that really doesn't matter. And it's just kind of like, personally, I'm not really emotionally attached to either of the consoles. They're just entertainment for me. And I'm not like, I know, I get, this is like a new thing going on, but apparently I'm the queen of Xbots. That's like the new rumor. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I think it's really funny to me. And
I gotta hear about it. Tell me about that. Why have they designated you the queen?
I think it's guilty by association, because I hang out with a lot of really hardcore Xbox dudes. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, well, she's cool with them, so clearly she's an Xbot. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I mean, if you want to call me that, that's whatever. It's not like a big deal to me, because it's just some made up term in a really minuscule community. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's been a really good time. Like I said, I've met so many people. I've been on so many shows, and I'm grateful that you asked me to be on here today.
Absolutely. One of the, like I said, young voices in the game. Would love your takes on a lot of stuff. All right, first of all, if y'all not following the Ashen Luca on Twitter, you got a problem because her Twitter is lit, man. But you definitely offer some great perspectives, and you make a lot of people think. You challenge them to kind of get out their comfort zone, and I respected that. So I said, you know what? And I seen you. Obviously, we had Deal on the show before, and Jay Fonzarelli, had like almost 2/3 of the 2/3 of the what you call it, 2/5 of the RDX. So I just felt it was right. You know, we talked about it for a little bit, and I was going to ask you about the next step as far as your progression in reference to RDX specifically, because, you know, obviously we're a huge fan of those guys. We've had a lot of those guys on the show. And how did that happen? How did that come to be when you guys linked up?
So I never really talked to Dealer that much. I actually started talking to him after he asked me to be on the show. But what had happened was I was a guest on Xbox Nation. Crappy needed some people to fill in because She-Wolf and GKB had to miss. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll help you out. Because Crap is one of my best friends. I love that guy, and I know he gets a lot of shit. I get that, but he has always been kind to me. He's always been respectful, and even though, you know, me and him have different views when it comes to a lot of stuff in the community, it's like I would never attack him for anything that
personally.
I don't care.
Well,
So, but he asked me to be on, so I was on Xbox Nation, and I remember it was K Mega. K Mega was talking about how he was like, oh, I don't understand. There doesn't need to be an option for 60 frames for the X. And I, you know, because casuals don't care about 60. And I was just like, hey, Mega, I get that. However, it's like this console, and this is what Phil said, this console is for the hardcore, so we should have an option. And the next day, Dealer was like, you know, I like that you were able to challenge him. You offered a different perspective, because for my show, I want it to be different perspectives. I want people to be open and honest and not with the fanboy bullshit. So come on. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I was like, yeah, definitely. And RDX has been really amazing. The community, like I said, because Dealer's side of the community, like the people that he has, none of them knew who I was. And I, you know, when I first started, I got a lot of shit. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just kind of like, I don't get it, really. I mean, it's maybe people just aren't used to hearing like a loud, outspoken woman.
Possibly.
You know?
Possibly.
But I got a lot of BS. People kept saying, hey, kick her off. She sucks. She ain't game. I hate her. And I'm like, wow, it's really not that big of a deal. And then like one day that troll Top Dog was like bothering me in the chat. So I just went off on him because, you know, I have this habit of going off on people when they irritate me. And ever since then, they've been like, yeah, she can stay.
We respect that. Shout out to Lord Anchorman. Yes, we know the language police is here. We know. Yes. It's all good. It's all good. But that's dope, man. Just to see that whole progression, you know what I mean? So you kind of got off into those franchises before I can ask. So you said Mass Effect. You had Skyrim. Well, give me fill out that 5 of your like top 5 gaming franchises of all time.
All right, so like I said, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, really into The Witcher. I played The Witcher 3.
Amazing
that game was phenomenal. Actually, one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. Honestly, like I was shocked by how good it was, because like I was like, wow, okay. And then I've been like playing a whole bunch of different RPGs and a lot of shooters as well, as I've integrated myself in the Xbox community, because I didn't really play a lot of multiplayer games. But gotcha. I'm a huge fan of the Saints Row series, Saints Row 2 in particular.
Okay. Yeah. That's dope. That's a good lineup right there. And my personal question, the name, the Ashen Luca. So is that a Dark Souls reference? Like where we at with the name? That's what I'm trying to get.
It is a Dark Souls reference.
I got it. Get my research.
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to. Oh, I'm a huge Souls fan. A really big advocate for those games. They're amazing in my opinion. A lot of people don't like them for some reason, probably the difficulty, but I think they're great, and I would advise people to just try it out, because you know, it's tough but fair. And I know a lot of people like that's like the thing. It's like, oh, it's tough but fair, but it really is, because I had no interest in the game at all, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. Mostly just because I was watching this dude on YouTube and he was trash, but he beat the game, and I was like, wow, if he can do it, so can I.
I gave you inspiration.
Like he really did. I was like, wow, okay, this guy is really bad. I'm definitely better than him. Let me try this out. So.
Nice. Nice. That's cool. Man. Love the background. Love that gaming history. So we gonna move on as far as what the Lords have been playing this week. So Lady Luca, what have you actually been touching this week? What's been in your game?
So I've been playing a lot of Persona 5, really good RPG. And then I picked up, someone gifted me Monster Hunter. Shout out to Biggie, you rock.
Nice.
And then I picked up Dragon Ball Z Fighters with my game share partner. So those are the games I've been cycling through.
Nice.
So you got Monster Hunter for free.
Yes.
That's fantastic. That's great. I wish somebody gave it to me for free.
No doubt. That's what's up, Lord. Oh, you're a fool, okay. Lord, what have you been playing this week?
A few things. So I finally touched on Double Dragon for the Switch.
Let's go.
I had to get my Double Dragon on.
That's right. We know about
my arcade perfect Double Dragon, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Let's see what else. So I haven't played it yet, but I picked it up. Celeste, that game that we talked about in the Nintendo Direct Mini, came out. And it's like IGN gave it a 10, and a lot of outlets are giving it really high scores. So I was really like, I said I have to pick this up, and I haven't touched it yet, but it seems like it's one of those really, hard as hell platformers with like a cool sort of and like something like the Meat Boy vein. So I'll have more to talk about that next week once I actually touch it. And on the console side, I've been playing that Dragon Ball. Which is, again, if you love the show, you have any sort of nostalgia for the show, get this game. Yeah. It's probably the best representation of that in video game form ever.
Lord Sovereign, is there any pitfalls to the game?
I wouldn't say Pipsy. My take on it is this: it is casualized enough, especially for an Arc System Works game that's usually very deep. It's casualized enough where your kids can grab it, like hit a couple buttons on a controller and some nice explosions and nice stuff happens on the screen and you can have fun playing it. But I've seen some higher level play, and it's all about like understanding what cancels what out, what defeats this, just like any fighting game.
Gotcha.
It's just
paper, scissors, rock.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. And so the higher level play, there's some stuff going on. Definitely, it has surprising depth to it. I guess I'll talk more about that as I continue to play.
No doubt.
And then I finally beat Wolfenstein.
You ahead of me, damn.
Yeah, I finally beat Wolfenstein. That was crazy.
Great game.
Beautiful
great
story,
game.
Right? Beautiful story, right?
Wow. Yeah. Just fantastic game. I finally saw credits in Forza Horizon 3. That game.
What?
Wow. Yeah. Once you finish all the showcases, you see credits. I mean, there's plenty more to do. And then I finally played a little more Origins, Assassin's Creed, and I got back into Shadow of War.
Nice. Oh, you was out here wilding out.
You was out here. You came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I needed to make up for lost time.
Fish out there, man. Wolfenstein 2 was robbed of Game of the Year 20. Oh my God, you Bethesda fan.
Here we go.
You know what? And I'm not gonna knock him off for that one right there. I'm gonna actually say, Anchorman, to this day, you're right on that game. Yes, sir. You were right. You was right from last E3 to now. Yes.
He was definitely repping it hard. Lord King, what have you been playing this week?
Well, let's start off with the game I put in. I said, let me complete this game and get it going, and nothing really transpired from that. It was Shadow of War. I don't know what's going on. There's a disconnect with the game. The first game, there wasn't a disconnect. I was actually flowing with it. So I'm just, I guess it's so much. I got a plethora of games, so I'm trying to get back into that game. Destiny, of course, everybody knows that. What you was gonna say, Simon?
There's too much of it. When it comes to Shadow of War, they just doubled down on all the stuff that was great about the first one. And there's so much, you kind of get lost in the mix.
Yes, of course. And that's my problem with certain games. Certain games, when you throw too much at somebody, it really takes away from the main story. And, you're like, whoa, let me go over here and do this and make this war happen. Oh, wait a second. That guy's running over there. Let me go do that. And then you get distracted and you lost like 2 hours doing crap that you could have did the story. Then, Destiny, of course, guys, I had to do my Nightfalls and my stuff like that, jumping in with my team and make that happen.
Big update coming up on 30th.
That's what I'm waiting for. And back to Luca with, I'm loving the fact that somebody gifted her the game of the Monster Hunter World. Because what I did was I realized, I was like, oh my God, Monster Hunter World is out. I saw it, and I had brought it for the 3DS. Now, when I brought it for the 3DS, I thought the limitations of the systems force certain things to happen. Because, it's really a Nintendo type of thing. So Nintendo has a lot of fail safes going through, right? That's Nintendo stuff. So when I saw the game at E3, I didn't want to play it. I said, you know what? I saw it on the screen. I said, it's open world. It's going to be yes, 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 and not a lot of no's, and it looks great, and it's going to be great. So automatically, I plucked down my 69. I got the digital edition. I wanted to get the best. Boom! Put it in. Yes, let's go. What's up with these graphics? All right. Not what I thought. I thought I would be getting.
It wasn't what you thought it was?
No. I thought I would be getting some Zero Horizon Dawn or Horizon Zero Dawn type of graphics. Okay, a little washed out. So I went into colors, boosted colors up to 10, took that brightness down a little bit. Then I messed with have 3 modes: graphic, frame rate, and resolution. Let me put it on resolution. Type of 4K.
You're about the X options, right?
Yes, of course, the X. If you're not playing on the X, you need to step it up. Anyway,
I see you.
Crazy bougie. Crazy
extra bougie. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. If don't be mad at me because I'm bad and bougie. That's me.
Continue.
But okay, so I'm like, all right, let me get into this game. Let me make this happen. Hold up, wait a second. It's like I'm playing a giant 3DS game. I'm like, why is all these checkpoints? There's no drop in and play type of feature. Now, what I do like what they're doing is the character that you make, he's in every cutscene. He looks like he belongs. Like some cutscenes that you made a character, he look like he don't belong. But yeah.
But here's the question though: Did you ice your cat out? Is your cat iced?
My cat is iced out. Okay. That's nice. You know what? They could have took away the cat and gave me an open world game like they said. Why does it say? Yes, exactly. Why does it say Monster Hunter World when you're in Monster Hunter Apartment A?
Oh, all
right. Okay, so me and Lord Attic and I decided to play a game together. It was the most cumbersome Nintendo crap going.
Really?
Oh, you know how Nintendo do. Hold up and wait for this guy to meet you in the lobby. Now both of y'all press the button at the same time. Oh, he's been kicked because he kicked the button first. And you're supposed to wait. What? And then when you actually get into the world, it's a lobby. It's not an open world. It's a space. It's a play space, a play area. Okay, you cannot transverse the world and get from point A to point B. No, you can play in this lobby that you see that is populated with animals. Do not be fooled. This is not an open world game. If you want an open world game, I suggest you spend your dollars elsewhere. The craftability of the game is beautiful. The RPG aspects of the game is nice. The trapping and the hunting is great. When you're in there with your friends, it's nice. That's going to be a nice aspect to it. But do not buy this game looking for Grand Theft Auto Monster World. It's not it.
Lord Brapp agreed with you. He said the games look awesome, but he said it looks washed out, and he's running on resolution. So he definitely sees issue with the graphics. Okay.
Yes, it's remember, it's a texture thing. Okay, so they have a lot of textures going in. So when you put a lot of textures in, something has to lose. When you lose that, you start to lose in the saturation of the colors. Saturations of the colors look completely washed out. It doesn't look as vibrant as a ton of games you have. It's not your television. It's not your system. It's that game.
Okay, fair enough.
Question.
Go ahead.
Because you know how disgusted we were with the Wii U version when we thought we were going to be jumping into it, and then we just both fell off of it very quickly. So, is it inviting, at least in terms of the systems, is it inviting for a new player to come in and be able to kind of wrap their head around that stuff, or is it just as obtuse?
It's just that overwhelming a smorgasbord of things to do with limitations.
It's like you going. The chat going
Yeah,
in.
they can go. Like, they can go in on me. It's like you're
saying,
going through a
Hub World
buffet
stuff, and they saying the games they got a graphics mode on the X. So like, why?
Yeah, they do got a they got a graphics mode on the X. It don't boost the graphics to fix the colors. What did you hear me say colors, or did you hear me say graphics? At what point don't you understand the words that's coming out of my mouth? I just told you that the colors are washed out. I said nothing about the graphics being no particle effects or no water reflection. I did not say anything like that. Did I? No. So what are you talking about?
The Hub World, dude.
Hub World. Okay, yeah. So you want to go to apartment 1 or apartment 2, and you got to take the lift to get up there? Can you reach that? Do you have to get to another load screen? Are you fooled? Have you been playing games or not? Is it an open world or is it? What is it? But it's not. Don't act like it's not a buffet table with limitations. Like, hold up, you can't eat that shrimp right now. You got to eat that shrimp later. I thought this was a buffet. No, right now we serving chicken, and that's down over here. So you got to eat that chicken first before you can get over here. But I really like lobster. Well, what you have to do is eat this chicken first before you can get over to this lobster. It's a hurry up and wait game.
Just because you're disgust, I gotta play this now. I gotta know what's going on out here.
I wish somebody gave it to me for free. And the thing is, everybody's on my friends list is playing it, and I'm trying to give this game its proper due because I always wanted to be about it. But I see the limitations in people's mind that they say, you know what, this is great, and they want to be sheeple. I'm not sheep. Sorry, this is not captivating. This is not what I'm used to over here. I'm used to open world games. If you want to say open world, let's do it. Not just apartment stuff.
What about the combat? What about the combat? How does that feel? How does that look?
Oh, come on, man. All right. Okay, so you have mid-range weapons, you have long-distance weapons, and you have short-distance weapons, right? Mm-hmm. You have to pick the weapon that actually works to your gaming type. Mm-hmm. All right, so if you're in close combat, dude, get that type of weapon. You know, quick, fast, double swords type of thing. Lord Attic likes that. That's what he was using. I like to use a range type of weapon, you know, to hit the animals from a distance so I can dodge, get enough time. And it works well that way. In the actual combat and taking down an animal, it's fun. You can have a good time with it. What I'm saying is the fact that the world is in a predetermined type of state. You start beating the animal up a little bit, and he'd be like, hold on, let's dip. Let's take it over to this predetermined area over here. Mm-hmm. And he'll start running, and you can't really do damage on the animal. Or if you're on his back hitting him, he'll wait till he get to that specific area. You do more damage there. You scavenge.
Quick question, King. Is it broken up by, like, you think by, like, damage level? Like, when you get them down to a certain level, then they kind of... Oh, yes, okay. Yes, so it's almost like kind of mini scripted events kind of thing. So
yes,
once you get to I got you now.
And it's a Nintendo thing. If you guys are deep in Nintendo's world, and if you played any of the Monster Hunters, if this is your first Monster Hunter, then you're sitting here like, wow, this is crazy. But then you start looking at the limitations that I said without being biased to it. You might really like the game. It might have been your only $60 and you're trying to validate your purchase. I hear that.
I'm done with you.
I hear that, but it wasn't my only $60 and I'm not trying to validate this purchase.
Thank you for your Monster Hunter review. Look, that impromptu Monster Hunter review. So what I've been playing. Sea of Thieves beta. I only got a chance to play once, but I tried the solo ship just purposely because I wanted to experience to see how it gets down. Is it truly fun as
a solo pirate?
Yeah, I did. It was fun. I figured it out. You know, I got my little sail going on. You know, had the little stuff going on, drinking the crow's nest, figuring stuff out. And then I found the island or something. There was some skeletons in there, did a little treasure hunt, whatever. But I didn't know. I guess I dropped the anchor, but I don't know. I did something wrong, or all I know is like the game went into this very like dark music. And I'm like, what's going on? There's nobody attacking me. What's going on? And I looked and I'm like, why is my ship sinking? Like, what's going on? So, like, and the game really puts this ominous music, and I'm like, hey, yo, who took my ship down? Like, what's going on? So I didn't figure that part out. So I played for a little bit of that, but I did have fun. Got to do it again this weekend, obviously with the Lords, you know, get everybody in that's in the beta and get the 4-man kind of team experience, because I'm hearing that's lit. Like, a lot of people are having fun with that. So I want to see what that's about. But early impressions so far were good. Did some PUBG, you know, last night. Shout out to Monkey Punch. I missed your message. We definitely definitely had a good 4-man going on. Lord Valakon and all that. Came close.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The PUBG. Yeah. We was playing, and I got to give a shout out to Monkey Punch because every time I'm in, Monkey Punch is in my team.
Yeah. Sorry. Shout out to Monkey Punch. And we tried to get. I came close to a couple of chicken dinners. You know what I'm saying? They didn't put them away, but we have fun with that. And as y'all know, I'm still on that Switch playing that wild game. This is the police. Fast 100 days now. More racial charge foolishness in this game.
Does that game have like an ending? It seems like you've been putting hours in.
I've been blazing hard. Like I haven't been getting no work done. I gotta really stop. I'm at work with the Switch out. I need to really stop. But real talk though, like it really is fun. But I did actually, because one investigation I got stuck. I had to Google it. I was like, I cannot figure this murder case out. I got what's going on. And during that time of me trying to cheat and figure out what was going on, I realized that I'm at the 3rd act of the game. So I'm almost done. So I'm like where I'm at. So it's been fun. I've been having a great time with it, trying to get Weppy on, but we're gonna move on. So yesterday's ILP results are in. The people have spoken to the question with the recent announcements, rumors at Xbox with Matt Booty, VP, first party games, digital game rumors. How excited are we regarding the future of the Xbox brand? The winner at 83% in our most lopsided 3-way ILP poll this year is the hype. The future is bright for Xbox Group. Coming in at 2nd place at only 13% was the Sony is way ahead, too little, too late group. And coming in at 3rd was the Team Shallows at 4%. They don't care. Labo outsells them all.
Oh, God.
So thanks to all who participated in last week's poll. What do the Lords think about this? Lady Luca, what do you think about this poll?
First of all, anyone hyping that Nintendo Labo, I'm gonna need you to stop. That's the most PC way I could say it.
You're telling them to pump their brakes.
Y'all need to cut it out, hyping that up. Stop it. Like it's cardboard. Stop it. But that's interesting. Yeah, when the Game Pass stuff came out, most people were excited for it. Yes. The majority I could see. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's like we're getting closer and closer to a digital future. And that's just something that people are going to have to accept. Now, it's easier for me. I'm a millennial. I didn't grow up in certain ages where it was all physical all the time. But it's just kind of like, you got to get with the times. And I think they're going to ease people into it. And like I said, I think we're a long way off before physical is done completely. Because if you think of it like this, there's still CDs and there's still DVDs. Even though most people watch Netflix and Hulu. And most people get all their music from streaming services.
So. Valid points. Valid, absolute points. Any of the Lords got anything else on this poll regarding the future of Xbox and the community feeling excited, Lord Sav?
My Lords, good afternoon.
Yes.
Lord Negative.
What's going on?
What's going on?
We were Lord down and he came to our rescue.
My man, Deadpool.
I will warn you. So my wife is going to be home in about 20-30 minutes and she's going to need some help with the groceries. I would not be much of a Lord if I didn't help her. But it'll take me about 10 minutes. I'll shut the camera down and I'll be right back.
Absolutely. We definitely want your perspective on things.
I've got perspectives. You guys know this.
Oh, yes, we do.
But it is wonderful to be back with the Lords and the lady as well. Luca, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
Please, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
Absolutely. Lord Sav, you were saying about the poll that we ran with the people getting excited about the Xbox brand future with all the recent announcements.
Yeah, we'll have more to talk about that in a minute. But Game Pass is a game changer, no matter how you look at it.
And in my segment, yeah.
In your segment, that's right.
And to add to what Lady Lucas said, if you're a grown man hyping up Labo, then maybe you should stop. But if you're
children, you're gonna tell me that grown men can't do it?
Oh no,
man! You don't want to put a cardboard box on your back, baby.
I'm here to tell you that grown men will do it. Like it's happening.
They will. So I'd like to drop an opinion on this.
Go for all. Here we go.
So I'm a big PlayStation and Nintendo guy, and is the Labo for me? No. I have no personal interest in it, but then again, I like a lot of games that people tell me, John, you shouldn't like that because you're an adult. I like Kirby. I like, I'm starting to get into Pokemon because of my 10-year-old. People tell me these things, and I say, well, you know what? One of us has been to war and seen combat, and one of us hasn't. So I like whatever I like. And if you want to tell me that I'm a wimp over it, I'm trying not to curse, by the way, guys. You know me.
Thank you. You know I appreciate you. For the children, for the little Lord.
For the kids.
We can't have the rated R show.
I'm trying to channel my Jim. I'm trying to channel my inner Jim Ryan. To protect the kids.
Appreciate it.
It's not for me. But I'll tell you what, my son, he's almost 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He got a Switch for Christmas because I'm awesome, and he is incredibly stoked about the Labo. So I'm not going to sit here and tell people that, I will never tell you what you can or forget that. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't be excited about because it takes all types to make the world go around. Mm-hmm. I personally think the Game Pass is a bigger deal for the industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. I think the Nintendo Labo will be a fun diversion. I think it's going to sell incredibly well. I think it's going to blow the doors off. But again, it's not for everybody. But Nintendo fans do this, right? And I've been guilty of it in the past too. Nintendo says we've got an announcement to drop, and everybody goes, "Oh my yeah!" And it turns out being, So
yeah.
We did this with the January 11th Direct, right? I'm sorry,
overhyped it. Yeah.
The mini Direct. Reset Era was going nuts, and Nintendo was fueling the fire. They retweeted that picture of Chibi Robo burning.
Yeah.
Other companies like Capcom were getting into it, and we do this to ourselves. I think the Game Pass is a much bigger deal.
Absolutely. We're gonna get into that because Lord King's up next. But definitely. Oh, no doubt. Cool. So we're gonna get this show rolling. Everybody's been hinting at this announcement. Obviously, that the big one that went down. So Lord King, would you like to set this thing off for the round table?
Oh yes. So our Lord and Savior, Phil Dynamis, and did his thing again,
Xbox only begotten son.
That's right. What people are not understanding is I told you from day one, he plays chess, not checkers. Everybody wanted this brute force mentality. He didn't have a brute force cachet when it came to what he was able to do at Microsoft. They wanted him to prove himself with what little he had. He took his pieces and he went to work. He started building strategic alliances and he started making things happen. What he does, what I like to do is I like to take narratives away from individuals so they can stop saying certain things. Because when you can stop saying power, then that diminishes your conversation and your attitude towards me. So he took away the power narrative from Sony. Boom. Okay. What's next? Y'all don't have games, and the games. Well, we do have this thing called Game Pass. It's $10 a month, and let me tell you something. If I give my kid 100 games at $10 a month, I'm winning here. All right. The service pays for itself. And that was a great service in itself. But what people were saying about it, well, there's no real great games inside of it. And it was a lot of 360 games that I noticed in there. And I couldn't take away that argument from individuals because that was true. It was a lot of past games and they had some new games in there. What they decided to do and what was ingenious was all first party games will permanently be day to date on released in Game Pass. You said that doesn't make any sense. How are they going to sustain themselves? Well, that's the hater yelling out, how would they sustain themselves? Well, they will sustain themselves in selling live. They will sustain themselves in selling Game Pass subscriptions at $60 a pop that GameStop has just started selling them at. And Game Pass has rose in subscription from the announcement. Now, it wasn't like you said Sea of Thieves came out yet because I was going to purchase that game. I don't have to purchase that game no more. I got my Game Pass now.
I literally purchased Game Pass the minute they made the announcement.
The second that it happened.
Because I was going to buy Sea of Thieves. Oh, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, you have to fundamentally start looking at the way that games will start to be distributed. If Microsoft becomes the next Netflix, right? Because this is kind of like the way they're going. My thing is they need one or two big developers to say, you know what, we're gonna join you in that Game Pass thing.
A lot of them will take a wait and see approach. Yeah, you see.
Right. If the numbers bear fruit, right, as far as how much a percentage that these guys can get, let's say 2K 18 or 19 or what, I don't know what number they're up to, comes out day to date on Game Pass, is that a game changer for sports fans? Yes. If the next big RPG comes out day to date free in Game Pass and Microsoft can secure this, isn't that a bigger announcement than God of War comes out on April 20th for $60? We know it was coming out for $60. Is it $19.99? Is it free in PlayStation now? So it's not any news. But news is free games. They told you now you have free games. I want to know how do the Lords feel going into this new digital future? Because that's completely on some real digital-ish. How do y'all feel about this? And is Microsoft on the path to becoming the next Netflix or Amazon gaming?
All right, let's get the lady in. Let's see how she feel. But once the Game Pass announcement was made, Lady Luca, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think, when it first was announced, my first thought was, this is really funny because he effectively killed a portion of the console war, because you can't talk about sales of games for Xbox anymore because they're all going to be coming out on Game Pass. So I was like, okay, that's really funny to me. My second thought was, man, the fanboys are going to be very angry about this. And
Luca, I would point out on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, definitely on both sides of the fence. I've heard people say, well, Xbox games are only worth $10. And I'm like, wow, you sound really stupid. Like, do you like paying $60 for a game? I don't understand. Like, okay, kind of weird, but whatever, you know? Like, I just think it's a great value for all of us. And personally, as long as I can play the games, I don't really care where they are. I guess I can understand, the only way I can understand it is if people are like, right, and Xbox is getting ready to not be in the console space anymore, it's no real competition for PlayStation, and thus we as the consumer suffer in that end. But other than that, this is like a great value for all of us. And I honestly think that people who are upset about it, they're either in denial about the fact that we're getting closer to a digital age, or they're just fanboys who want more material and more ammo for this
more ammunition for the war
console war.
They got to put the tiki torches down. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay.
No doubt. And we got our second special guest, Lord Negative. I'm curious about. I know the reason why I brought you in is because I know you. And shout out to Lord Brap. You guys had it was a Brap rant that went on, and then you had Matt Piscatella on a couple times, and broke some things down. So I know you have some interesting perspective.
So now I think you can honestly say, and I think there's positives and negatives to this, right? And to be honest, we don't know enough about any of it to, in my opinion anyway, to say whether or not this is going to be ultimately a great thing for Microsoft or ultimately a bad thing. I think there are a lot of positives, not just for Microsoft, but for the industry as a whole. Now you have a major selling point for every single console now with PlayStation 4. I don't think anybody would argue that they have, this generation anyway, had the largest, most diverse stable of first-party exclusives.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody would argue that.
That's a fact.
Nintendo has the portability and the convenience of the Switch. I've got one. It's just a wonderful little device. And of course, Mario, Zelda. I mean, they killed it this year. I mean, talk about games to launch your console with.
Absolutely.
And then now with Xbox, you have what is probably looking anyway to be the best value in gaming. With Game Pass, I'm not convinced that all of their first party exclusives will stay on Game Pass for an extended or forever.
Actually, they made a statement recently.
Did they?
Greenberg, yeah, they did. Actually, they got in front of it. I was shocked. They got in front of it and made a statement and said that the first-party games will permanently remain as.
Yeah, Aaron Greenberg came out and said that.
Yeah, they said they won't remove it.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? So a lot of the negatives I have heard is that, two of them. One, this is going to cause Microsoft to go, to turn Xbox into a service as opposed to a platform. I don't necessarily see that as a negative.
Gotcha.
Because the money that Microsoft makes, it's the same for Sony and it's the same for Nintendo. They make money on sales of games, not sales of consoles. The PS4 is the only console that is sold at a profit, but it's a very meager profit. They don't make a lot of money off of it. And I know for a fact that Microsoft is taking losses on the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. The meat and potatoes of revenue in the gaming industry is games. And that's where I think this could be a double-edged sword for Microsoft. I think it's going to, I mean, look at what it did to social media. Everybody was talking about Game Pass. It's still all anybody's talking about is Game Pass and how Microsoft is possibly moving the industry forward. Having said that, I wonder about the pushback from first-party developers like Rare, who are owned by Microsoft but are not part and parcel of Microsoft, and what this might do to sales of games at brick and mortar registers. And I can't imagine that stores like Amazon and GameStop and Best Buy will be very thrilled with a move like this. So
didn't one company, one store say they're no longer selling Xboxes?
Yeah, but nobody's ever heard of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I said that because I wanted to hear you say that. That's
I think there's a lot of hyperbole on going around on all sides about this. And honestly, I like to sit back and wait before, I used to be an investigator, so I like to sit back and wait for all the facts before I make a determination on something. That's what I'm going to do here. I think it could be a really, really good thing. I don't think it's going to be a really, really bad thing, but I think there could be some potential pitfalls for Microsoft.
Right. You're taking a wait and see approach. Now, a question I got for you specifically, Lord Negative. I know you do not have an Xbox One.
I don't.
Yeah, and I know that SDGC they've been hitting up wifey. They've been tweeting her. They've been like, look at that Xbox. Can't we?
My wife Vicky is so upset about that. She's like, "Could you please tell your friends to stop bugging me? I'll let you get an Xbox One S." So I, honestly, I'll tell you this much: I feel more compelled to buy an Xbox now than I have. And you're talking to somebody who
Phil did his job.
I split my time on the 7th generation between the PS3 and the Xbox 360. I don't come at this from I have a son. I've got a limited amount of funding, and there are so many games to play that I don't know if I can sustain a third console.
I know so many good games.
2017 was insane. But this, if anything would push me to get an Xbox One right now, this would be it. Because on the face of it, it does sound like an incredible value. I need to. I think everybody would benefit from waiting and seeing what the end game is going to be. Although I will end on this because I've talked way too much. I told somebody said, "I can't believe Microsoft is stupid enough to do this," and I will make this point. Companies don't do this unless there are metrics that go into this. There are surveys that go into this. There are studies that go into this. Companies don't do this unless they are confident that the product is going to succeed. Look at the Switch. People, before it launched, people said they are crazy to project 10 million sales in the first year. That's insane. And I said you don't throw numbers out like that if you don't think you can hit them.
Absolutely.
These are based on things and numbers and metrics that none of us are privy to. So Microsoft is confident. That's probably enough for me.
You pretty much nailed my point, but I'm gonna get solved. Lord Saul, what do you feel about all this stuff right now? Game Pass.
First of all, big shout out to Brap and EJ and B Money and
Absolutely.
And Matt Piscatella. I was on there this past week.
Great show.
And we talked about this stuff. And Matt Piscatella and of course Megadeth was on there. I touched upon this. My bottom line on this is that it's absolutely game changing. And like Megadeth said, like there are some caveats to it that Microsoft, again, it has to play out in the market and see what's going to happen. I think the big thing is that now what it does with their first party stuff is that it allows more eyes to be on it. It allows more hands to be on it. Now people who would not have given these games a second look are saying, well, you know what, for $10 a month, why not?
For that $10.
Right. And what it does is it just gives the brands more recognition. In terms of the effect it can have on physical sales, I mean, it's gonna. Matt made it clear that there were things that this type of exposure for a game has always shown that it affects sales of the game positively. Whether they're sales at the $60 price point, I don't know. Probably sales down the line. Again, with the assumption that certain games are going to be leaving the service. I don't know. Does Game Pass offer a discount for games in the service? If you want to just buy them.
Let you know right before it's about to leave. Do you want to purchase this game at a discounted price?
Yes, correct.
So that sort of stuff, I think in the long term, again, the main thing is for the brand to get positive recognition. And I think overall and in the long term, it's gonna be a positive thing for all Xbox first party stuff moving forward.
I will say this. If you don't mind, if I just make one quick
go
point,
for it,
I don't think this is going to solve all of Microsoft's problems.
Right.
I certainly think that. I mean, Phil Spencer has done a fantastic job of righting the ship. Had they not and had he not done what he did a couple of years ago to start the course correction, I don't think we'd be having the same conversation about Xbox we are right now.
I agree.
Having said that, they do have a first-party exclusive problem, and I would have told you at the beginning of this generation, I don't think first-party exclusives sell consoles the way they used to. I think I'm wrong now. I think it's clear that I was wrong about that, and I'm still concerned about what they've got on the slate for 2018. In these, I mean, it looks better. Sea of Thieves has gotten a great reception.
I think
State of Decay 2 looks very interesting to me. I love zombie stuff. I think
I'm hyped for that.
I think Crackdown 3 is going to be a huge dud.
Better be a nice $10 dud.
The game just does not look good. It is not presented well. We still haven't seen the multiplayer, and this thing's supposed to launch this spring. But having said that, Microsoft. I mean, it's a great start for Microsoft. They've got to get their first party stable under control, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got.
Yeah, I think if you look at sales of first party games, right, and you look at the amount of consoles in the wild, you say, wow, this game should have sold more, right? This game should have sold more considering how many consoles. So that's part of the argument where people say, well, sometimes these exclusives don't sell. But what the exclusives, although they don't sell as well as they should, but the exclusives, what they do is they create an identity for that console.
Absolutely.
And that, more than anything, is what people identify with. That's what they say, you know what? God of War is associated with Sony. Uncharted is associated with Sony. Like they can, whatever the sales may be in the long term, it creates an identity that people latch onto. Absolutely. And I think that's what Microsoft has had the trouble getting. Like, I won't specifically call it like a mascot, but Master Chief has lost his kind of his
he lost his shine a little bit.
Well, he's been holding down the ship by himself, and they tried to get Spartan Locke, and then that just didn't go right. Because you tried to supplant your mascot. It's going to be blowback from that. Nobody wants to hear you're going to get rid of an icon. Nobody wants to hear that crap.
No doubt. Yeah, let me jump in right quick. I mean, I think, like I said, the Lords and the lady making some great points. I think this is all also, first of all, let's just get it down to a pure value perspective, right? For the consumer. Let's not worry about Microsoft's pockets for a second. Yep. From a value proposition, this is ridiculous. Like $10, you're getting a vast library of games, and you're getting, first party Microsoft games at release. That's huge, right? What I was also looking at was that I felt when Phil made some tweets recently, and he was talking about single player focus and using Game Pass as a kind of a jump start for that. And I believe a couple people asked him that, it's like, hey, Phil, do you see like this an opportunity to introduce unique and new experiences to users? And he basically said both. And he was just saying that he said that he sees this as a new model that can open up a lot of opportunities for single player games. And he said he knows that model has done well for TV, referencing Netflix and so forth. And then he also referenced IOCAT, which is, I believe, is a Chris Charler from ID at Xbox team. And they trying to use that as a kind of a springboard, like to lead, their single player and have Xbox Game Pass turn into that model for studios as that goal, So I thought that was very promising. And these are stuff, Lord Soft, that he's kind of been hinting before, as far as.
But we didn't know the roadmap on how he was going to get there until he revealed his hand.
Exactly.
It's a lot more viable to do things that way. Like what people have to understand is that it's difficult to invest an immense amount of money into a game that's going to be 15, 20 hours long. And that people may not go back to. It's a hard sell. Right. So I know Sony's been doing it and been doing it very well for a very long time. But to be perfectly frank, and I love those games. But the fact of the matter is, in the long term, it is difficult to justify sustaining that in that same way. It's just it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
And then the thing is, let's break it down from a Microsoft first party perspective. Like like you said, Soft, every console has its identity, right? Sony has those great single player immersive, like when you saw the God of War trailer, right? But like when you look at Microsoft, like look at something like Sea of Thieves, right? They tend to their best games and their ecosystem tend to be multiplayer focused. And what I feel with Game Pass is that actually could benefit them. Like, look at something that Sea of Thieves, like if they're putting out quality first party titles with kind of a multiplayer focus, not that they won't have any single player, but that kind of benefits that ecosystem, because if one person has it, like, hey, I can just try this out, and now we're all playing Sea of Thieves because of a Game Pass subscription. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And then the long game is what I'm looking at. Like, in order for this to sustain, they have to continually put out quality first party content, but also space it so that, because let's be honest, Lady Luca, we know some people gonna finesse this system, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know some people gonna be like, I'm picking it up right around launch of Sea of Thieves, and I'm unsub. But if you make that commitment, well, let's say every other month or every month, there's some kind of major release that kind of gets you to, hold on. And let's be honest, like even with Netflix and some like EA Access, some services, they're banking on the fact that people 9 times out of 10 forget. And keep that subscription going
that's
on.
A good point.
Yeah. Let's keep it, because I've done it before. Like I've had EA Access and I didn't really utilize every aspect of it. Maybe like, when a new game comes out and I want that, 5-day early trial of Mass Effect Andromeda, but for the most part, I'm not really utilizing it. But I'm like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting to unsubscribe.
And you got one more month in, and they say, well, you still got 30 days now.
Exactly. And it's just consistent revenue. So again, this is something also to look at. Now I want to bring it back to Lake Luca in reference, before I finish up King, is in reference to the Austrian retailer who he came out and said Xbox is banned from our stores. We will no longer. What did you feel about that, Lady Luca? Like where were you at when you heard about this announcement from Austrian retailer Gameware?
Well, one of my friends sent it to me in a DM, and I was like, that's interesting, but it's to be expected. Now, I know a lot of people are just making fun of it because it's like, oh, who is this guy? He's irrelevant and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I would like to say that if a smaller retailer can do it, what's to stop the bigger retailers from doing it? And I know that they have like deals in place in regards to that, but it's just something to keep in mind, something to consider, that maybe they'll make it so they're not directly violating any contract, but it'll make it harder for people to see the Xbox consoles in the stores and stuff like that. Gotcha. It's just something to consider. It could happen. You always want to keep that in mind. But like this guy, I don't know who he is, so I don't care. But it's just kind of like,
Microsoft, or the Xbox tends to perform much better stateside than it does internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any of the major U.S. corporations doing this. I mean, when I heard about that, you guys ever seen Tombstone? Tombstone, yeah. So there's a scene in the movie where Curly Bill is sitting on the porch, and Wyatt Earp's brother has died, and he says, "I want it to be over now." And Curly Bill really summed it up for me when I heard about what this Austrian chain was doing. This is pretty much it right here.
Bye.
Like that's bye. I just people are putting way too much stock into that.
I feel you.
But I do think there's something that nobody else has considered, is the fact that in order for this to be a success, if you're going to put all your first party games in there, they need to be good, they need to be plentiful.
Yes, absolutely.
And that ties back into the problem I think Microsoft has had this more so in 2017 than any other year this generation. Is that
absolutely.
If all you've got, if Sea of Thieves, great. State of Decay 2, okay. Crackdown 3, I don't think it's going to perform well. I don't think it's going to be a good game. So if that's all you've got aside from Forza, I think that's a problem.
Okay.
In relation to trying to get people out of Game Pass. So
yeah, but the games that they do have, at least for me personally, I am more willing to try them out now that it's like not 60. Because let me tell you, no offense, but Sea of Thieves looks like trash, and so does Crackdown. So
everybody on SDGC has loved Sea of Thieves. I don't care because I don't like MMOs. I'm not an MMO guy. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and I played about 30 minutes of Final Fantasy 14 and said, not for me. Not for me. That's not to say, I understand it's very popular.
Just not
I agree with Luca. I don't know if Sea of Thieves, yes, it was very highly viewed on Twitch, right? Like it blew it away on Twitch. That does not translate to millions upon millions of units sold. I think I'm taking a wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
No doubt. Lord, Lord, can you want to finish up your topic?
Okay, so the free advertisement for the one store that said, "Yo, I'm not gonna carry this system no more. I can't believe they did this," and it was like, "Yo, who is that guy?" The hits on the website. I'm glad you're taking a stance, man. You're standing with her. That was great for him. I mean, I think this was he took an opportunity. He said, "You know what? I'm going for it. I'm gonna ban these guys, and I'm gonna get all these views." And yeah, okay, Tiki Torches for you, brother.
Video game consoles don't need you to defend them.
Yeah, exactly. It's out of control.
It's like Megadeth said. Like the Xbox brand does not do well in Europe. Like they obviously weren't selling a lot. I guarantee you. So it was an easy move to make. I guarantee you that if Sony introduces a Game Pass just like this, when Nintendo does, they zip it and they hold that. They don't say a damn word. No, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just saying if they would do that same retailer would have shut up about it.
Yeah, but it had been somebody else, then dude would have this. On to physical copies. Okay, I want you guys to take the khakis off and put the Tiki Torches back in the corner. I want you to know this, that you are safe. You are safe. The world is not going to change overnight on you. I know some people have data caps. I know some people are afraid of DRM. You guys that are afraid that Microsoft is going to hit a switch and say, "You play, not today." I know this. It scares the crap out of you. And to this, I give you a giant hug. I had a guy on Twitter. I forgot your name, but I know you're listening to me because you are my follower now. You are my slave.
Oh my
Lord.
And I want him to know that physical is still around. Physical won't go anywhere for the next 5 to 10 years. We're improving rapidly. Once we get data caps removed and once we allow high-speed broadband to be introduced all across the world, which is not, we got to take away the whole feeling of superiority where we're able to download 10 gigs in 5 minutes where other people can't. They take a day. Microsoft will not stop selling physical copies of games. Okay, so don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of Game Pass. Don't be afraid of trying new things. It's there for you to give you value. If you see the value in something, what I will always tell you is to try it. If you see the value in PlayStation Now, try it. If you see the value in anything, try it. It's there for you to save money.
I'm sorry. When you tell me value in PlayStation Now, I just laugh.
I know. See, I knew you would get it. That's why I said it.
This is going for a guy who does most of his gaming on PlayStation. That's pretty funny.
This is a great topic. I mean, like I said, we felt Microsoft blew it out the water with this announcement. Obviously, there is some concerns, but for the most part, it's so pro-consumer, and it's good to see the mostly positive reaction and just to see how this thing moves forward. So,
last note. Sorry,
go for it.
Phil did say that they're investing heavy on first-party games.
Yes,
that alone should allow you to say, I think I might have to look at this Game Pass, because nothing this man has said has not been true. He's been saying true facts.
That's very true. That's very true. I just will point out, everybody remembers the greatest games lineup in Xbox history.
Oh, shots fired.
It was for him.
I'm just saying.
You know what it was? It was certain words that it was certain words that was left out. What he did say, and you didn't hear the undercut of the words, is the greatest games lineup in history under my leadership. But you didn't hear the under my leadership.
That was the parentheses.
All I'm going to say,
yes.
All I'm going to say is that man should beat the Olympics with that kind of gymnastics, man.
Gotta look at the fine print. Gotta read the fine print, man.
That's all I'm saying.
It was about the fine print.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I mean, a lot of us, like Lord Megadeth said, we don't have these numbers from Microsoft in front of us. they're looking at the metrics, they're looking at the numbers, they know what they are capable of, and they're taking a small risk on it, no doubt, but they've got to be confident in what they're seeing. And at the end of the day, it's all about engagement. They want you in that ecosystem. You got the Xbox Live subscription, you got the Game Pass subscription. Once you get in there, they're banking on you staying in there. The key for them is just
I'm also sure that if games do take a drop in physical and digital downloads, I'm talking full price stuff in response to the Game Pass, I am sure Microsoft is going to pay these first party developers a stipend. Absolutely. To make up for that. So absolutely. I mean, I think we also need to
and they're the only ones who can do something like that.
Absolutely. So Lord Sav, now we finished up this, we're gonna transition over to you. What's going on in the world of cloud? What's going on in the mighty cloud? What's happening?
So my topic actually segues perfectly from King's topic, because what I want to know is, right, with Microsoft obviously going the route of services with the Xbox brand, right? There's been a lot of speculation as to what that means for the Xbox brand 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. People have even coined the term the Xbox app. They want to see the Xbox app somewhere where that allows you access to the Xbox ecosystem, wherever it may be, on a tablet, on a laptop, your phone, whatever the heck it may be. So again, the speculation about how they're going to actually do that in the future has led people to kind of say, well, are they going to continue making consoles? Or are they not going to make consoles anymore? Are they going to be on PlayStation? Are they going to be on iOS? Are they going to be on Mac? One of the things that's sort of been a running joke that no one has necessarily talked about is cloud compute gaming. And cloud compute gaming has been a little bit of a running joke.
Are you talking about the power of the cloud?
The power of the cloud, Azure cloud. Yeah, but even before that, and Lord King knows, like, he and I were on the front lines of cloud compute gaming. We were one of the first ones to get that pre-order for the OnLive gaming system with the little box and the controller. And it was, I mean, for what it promised, it didn't give you what it promised, but it did show you what the idea was.
Okay, and it tried its best.
It tried its best.
It tried its best. Yo, if people would have purchased it, it could have actually did what it wanted to do.
Okay, where is the cloud?
It's in the cloud. What part of the cloud don't you understand about the cloud?
2013, 2014, we were shown this amazing destructible multiplayer environment in Crackdown 3. They're like, everything's going to fall apart and it's going to be nuts and crazy. And it's all powered by the cloud. The game is releasing, if Microsoft is to be believed, in a matter of months. Where the hell is the cloud? Where the hell is the multiplayer? Right. We haven't seen it.
But you know what you have to do, right? Right, Mr. Megadeth? What you have to do is you have to buy an Xbox in order to access the cloud.
That's it. It's Microsoft Cloud. He has a nice little TM in the corner that belongs to them.
Yeah. The cloud is not accessible by all.
Private cloud.
I'm locked out of the. I'm locked out of the cloud.
Continue, Losel.
I don't know. I think it's all marketing speak. Yeah. Sony does the same thing.
Yeah, of course. It's blast processing.
But there is some reality to it, though, because the thing that I've seen, especially with what I'm going to talk about now, is that no one's actually stopped investing in it. Like, it's not one of those technologies that came out and it was like, oh no, it's done. This was BS completely. Yeah, people have continued to work on it, right? So again, like, you talk about OnLive, you talk about NVIDIA GeForce Now, you talk about the joke in on the console side of things, the PS Now. Where it's like, I mean, they had to do something with that Gaikai that they purchased.
They made that investments for backward compatibility.
Exactly. So they had to use it. Now, looking at how Microsoft is looking to do things in the future, my question is, like, how is cloud gaming a viable option in addition to whatever else they're planning, right? And the reason I say this is this. This past week on Eurogamer, a digital foundry, Richard Ledbetter wrote an article about a new company introducing a cloud gaming environment. Not even this is the thing that's different from a cloud gaming service or environment. It's simulating a desktop environment in which you can do anything that you would normally do on an actual desktop, right? So it's not simulating. It's not a game service. It's literally you being able to access a desktop, a virtual desktop that you pay a monthly fee for, right? And you can do anything you would do with your normal desktop at home on a desktop. You can install your Steam account, download whatever, access your Steam games, but all through the cloud.
Gotcha.
Now, the thing about this is, what's interesting about this is, the most interesting thing about this is that the fact that it's simulating that environment. And people have been trying to use like remote desktops and stuff for years. And oftentimes those remote desktop is very reliant upon your connection and and you being able to access your actual computer.
Yep, I mean, as a tech, I use it all the time. Yep, absolutely.
You have to have a physical computer. This is telling you, no, you don't need to have a physical computer. Your computer could be completely in the cloud, complete access to Windows 10. So the name of this company is Blade, right? And the name of the service is Shadow. And the thing about this, it was introduced initially in France, and now it's being introduced in the UK. So basically, it is a cloud gaming service that at this point is powered. Let me give you the specs. At this point, it's being powered by 8 threads from a Xeon processor, which gives you processing power equivalent to a high-powered Core i7, right? Okay. 12 gigs of memory, 256 gigs of SSD hard drive space, and GPU power that's equivalent to about a GTX 1080.
So a 1080? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's up.
Okay, that's what's up.
It's pretty powerful stuff, and they're touting what they're touting in terms of gaming. Is depending on your bandwidth, of course. They're touting, 1080p at nearly 150 frames per second.
That's crazy.
Wow.
4K at 60 frames per second.
Wow.
And again, Ledbetter is, he's tentative. He's kind of weary about what he's hearing, right? But at the same time, something that kind of left a positive impression on him was the fact that everybody that he spoke to, they seemed very forthcoming about the tech, how it works. That he didn't really go into detail in the article about it.
Right.
But he did say that everybody from the top down is so well versed on this that it gives him hope that they're not lying. Because on live, when they came out, they gave you, they gave you a bunch of hyperbole. They're like, it's going to do this, that, and the other. And immediately they said, no, this is not, this cannot be. Like the moment you say there is no lag, you're lying because it's lag. Like no matter any which way you look at it, it's going to be lag.
Absolutely.
So the fact that he is positive on this, that he's just waiting to get sort of review copies into Eurogamer so he can test it out on his own servers and see how close this is. It lends me to believe that this is a viable option, especially for a company like Microsoft moving forward, that they're looking into becoming a services-based company. They're already doing it on the Windows side. We've already talked about how, Microsoft Office is a service now. You pay for it. And when you talk about OneDrive and stuff like that, all of this is service-based stuff where you're paying a subscription model, subscription price for it on a monthly basis. So this stuff is very, very interesting because if this stuff holds and this stuff continues to improve, I guarantee you it's going to be offered as an option, especially for Microsoft. I don't know what Nintendo does in the future. I don't know what PlayStation does in the future. This is something that we're going to be seeing in the next 7 to 10 years as a viable option for some people who don't want to spend all that money on that hardware, who don't have the money to spend on either console hardware or PC hardware, right? Because again, the catch is that you're simulating an environment that everybody uses, which is the PC desktop environment.
Which is what I was going to jump in.
Real quick, I'll go help my wife at the groceries.
That's right. No problem. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in right quick. Yeah, that was my only concern. I mean, my main thing is, obviously image quality with things like this. We got to see how that goes. Obviously, based on how the networking stuff and the cloud stuff. But I mean, listen, from a potential standpoint, it sounds fantastic. It's I think we're right now at this point as gamers where it's kind of like we got to see it to believe it at this point. Not that this doesn't exist. Not that this
stuff is over.
Right. Like we have to see real world game application. And the key right now, that's why I feel Crackdown is really important. You know what I mean? Like people, listen, me and Lord King can tell you, look, I'll tell you right now. We went to E3 And we started Crackdown demo. And he was like, oh man. Like I'll keep it 100. Like it did not impress me. Just the regular gameplay. Now that wasn't using cloud tech. That wasn't my point. But the whole point is just the game itself. So, but from the multiplayer standpoint, then they came out in front of it and they said, hey, you know, this is not reflective of the multiplayer. The multiplayer is using the destructive environments, is using that cloud tech. And to me, that's the key for the game. I'm actually purchasing that game solely for the multiplayer because I want.
Well, you're getting it free in Game Pass.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm getting it from Game Pass, but I want to see how that multiplayer works, you know, and along with the co-op and stuff like that. Because to me, if that, because put it this way, I like, you know what, the first title that I kind of touted it was Titanfall 1. And then when we got it, we were like, yeah, there's AI bots running around, but there was nothing, you know, revolutionary that was happening, you know what I'm saying, so to speak, aside from Azure servers powering the networking and making sure, you know, it wasn't peer-to-peer.
The driver-tar stuff, like that, that sort of stuff.
It's been like small on a small level, not say on the back end, but nothing very groundbreaking just yet. Like I think we need to see something like Crackdown. If they even just give us a smidget of that demo that they showed, what was it, 2 years ago?
Death Singer, yeah. If they do, sorry for interrupting.
Sure, no problem.
If they do pull it off, and we're all pulling for that to happen, because okay, I don't care if you're in a Sony camp, a Nintendo camp, I don't care what camp you're in. If cloud gaming can get pulled off at what they're saying, it bids well for us as gamers as a whole, because it now allows these companies to invest into this technology, which will save us on the other end of buying big expensive hardware. You understand? So I'm pulling for this game to do exactly what they said, when they said, and how they said it, because not only will Microsoft save face, which I'm, you know, a little bit biased over here, but but yeah, I mean, because, you know, listen, the ribbon, the memes is gonna be crazy. Yeah, the memes but that forces Sony and Nintendo to say, you know what, let's start investing in this technology, and these smaller companies start to get that look-see. Like this Shadow starts to get the look-see. Maybe Microsoft doesn't buy Shadow. Maybe Sony does. Maybe Nintendo does. And could you imagine a Switch with the power of a 1080? Kill yourself.
And this is the thing. This is the thing. The money you save, if this works, right? If this ultimately improves to the point where it works to the point that gamers are happy with it, you understand the amount of money you save on overhead when you say, I'm not producing half the amount of consoles that I used to produce, right? Like, you know, if you think about packaging, shipping, R&D for all that stuff, right? If you cut that out of the pipeline, or at least lessen it, and then you have this as part of your business plan, the amount of money you save, and companies are about making money and saving money. Let's not get that twisted. So it's a matter, like King said, it's a matter of viability in the future. Once it's viable across the board and they see it's going to be hard for anybody to ignore it.
No doubt. Let's get Lady Luca in on this. What do you feel about the power of the cloud?
You know, I'm just gonna take a wait and see approach on it. You know. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a wait and see approach. I want to see what it can do. How much is this Shadow subscription monthly?
So the service is about $30 a month for it. That's if you buy the 1 year.
That ain't that $10 you like?
Yeah, it ain't that $10.
They need somebody to purchase them, because at $30 a month, I'm closing the door on you.
So this is the thing, but this is what I say. Like, it's not solely a gaming service, right? It is. You have access to all the games you've purchased on any other service that you own already, right? So then, in a sense, it's future-proofed, because when let's say whatever that service dies or whatever, something replaces it, right? You still have all your games that you've purchased on, or Steam or whatever. That's going to be there. So it's not like you lose your games like at OnLive. Anything you purchase on OnLive is gone. Like you can't access that anymore, right? And then the other thing that makes it kind of worth it is the fact that, again, it's not a gaming service. It is a simulating a desktop service. It's simulating a computer.
Yeah, so you can take $500 and go buy a desktop. and put it together, bit by bit, $30 a month. That starts to add up over a period of time. I mean, $30. I'm the premium excess gamer. You just told me $30 a month. I'm really looking. Does it come with pizza? Does it come with soda? This thing has to do more than whatever they're saying. $30 is a lot of bread.
It's $30 a month if you have the year contract, right? But without it, what? It's like 40.
It could be a little more. Yeah, it's a little more.
It's like 40, right?
She's ripping the layers off of this jackfruit, and it's not going right.
But once again, I think this is the thing, though. You got to look at the ease of use for a lot of people matters, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about it, right, as people like, I know King is somebody who collects stuff, like he holds on to everything, right? Mm-hmm. The thing about it is, right, all these remasters and stuff notwithstanding, there's a lot of stuff that you own that you can only access right now. Mm-hmm. If you plug that old stuff in and get to it. That's the only way you can do it, right?
Right.
With this, the environment is there for you. You're not holding on to anything.
Can we do it at a cheaper price point, though?
I
want to access it all, but I want to be cheaply accessing it.
This is another thing too. The improvements on the hardware side, they're constantly improving. So whatever newest hardware comes out, they improve on their side, and that's immediate.
Okay.
So it's not like you're going to have
drop down the price at some point.
Right. In 5 years, they're not going to be running a GTX 1080. They're going to be running
whatever it is. So it's trying to keep up with the time, so to speak.
Right. So
so you'll be always on the cutting edge.
On the cutting edge, yeah.
It's always at the start of it. Again, it's a matter of people buying into it enough where they get enough subscriptions where they can be like, okay, let's drop the price down. At the start, you're always going to eat that, and we know that. In everything that we do, we're always the first ones in line for everything.
Right.
Yeah, this is true. But Lord Sovereign, I'm gonna tell you right now, $30 a month, I'm gonna have to take a wait see like Luca. I'm gonna have to be in my house through the curtains, just peeking until that price get there.
Luca does not sound enthused.
Not at all.
Now, what she told me is $40 without the year commitment. Oh, brother, you have lost me for sure.
I completely agree. Like, I'm of the mind, especially when you put it into the Microsoft discussion. Like, I'm of the mind. I always want that box. I want that combo.
Yeah, but Microsoft's cloud is free. They have not said David. No, you had to hear this new cloud. You have to hear this new cloud. This new cloud is a dark cloud.
The shadow cloud.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the reason why it's gonna cast a shadow on your wallet. Listen to this. Listen to this. They tell you that you gotta sign up for the year. It's $30 a month to do this stuff, right? And he gonna tell you all the great, fantastic things that you can do. or if you want to freelance it, you want to be that no subscription dude. It's $40 a month. And then he's gonna tell you all the fancy stuff that you could do for this $40. What I said was Microsoft said we could do fancy things too, and we're free. I'm just trying to figure out why I gotta pay for the cloud. When these dudes down the block cloud is free, I'm just gonna stay in my cloud over here.
People are going to be whenever this drops, this amazing cloud. People are going to be arguing, well, my cloud is bigger than your cloud. My cloud is bigger cloud.
Negative's voice right now is killing me.
I don't know. It's like an army of Donald Trumps are going back and forth at each other.
I just think it's personally, I think it's too much money. And if you're interested in those kinds of specs, you would just build your own PC. Mm-hmm. And it's still new, so I don't know. I'm definitely waiting and seeing and going to see how this shapes up because it's not sounding very appealing to me. I'd rather just build my own PC and then upgrade as I go through it.
Well, and there's also an issue with bandwidth, right? Like, you can't. Microsoft can invest all the power and money in the cloud they want, but you can't. If you got you got crappy bandwidth, then you've got crappy bandwidth, and there's nothing.
And you got a small cloud.
You a savage. Well, let me ask both Luca and Lord Megan if this is in reference to like in pertaining to back to console gaming, and like obviously Microsoft was one of the first to kind of start to spearhead this movement, so to speak. Now with Crackdown specifically, are you guys at least curious about the cloud implementation that's supposed to happen in this multiplayer?
Ladies first.
No.
Oh, shots fired.
Listen, how long have they been talking about this game? Since 2014? And they keep pushing it back. Clearly, there's some issues going on with the cloud, so I'm not expecting much, to be perfectly honest.
You think the game's going to get pushed back again?
Oh my god, they can't afford to push it back again. They can't. After the backlash from last time, it would be
Game Pass. They're gonna say stop complaining. It's free.
Like I have a theory. I have a theory.
Chapter 1. They might give you Chapter 1 on Game Pass and just give you the rest later.
I have a theory, and it's probably not true, but I have a theory that Crackdown 3 was canceled and then brought back to life when Scalebound was canceled.
That's probably possible. But probably this also, probably Scalebound might show up because remember, Microsoft owns all the assets. It might show up now that Game Pass is taking a liking to all the first party stuff. So it might, the assets might show up in a different form.
Anybody know who owns the IP? Anybody who knows who owns the IP?
Microsoft owns.
Microsoft owns the IP, but that doesn't mean they own the assets to the game.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
No, they purchased the assets.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, they purchased the assets to the game. Yeah, no, I'm 100% sure that they purchased the assets to the game and they canceled the game.
Luca gave her answer. Could you repeat the question so I can give you the best possible answer?
In reference to Crackdown 3 specifically, and obviously Microsoft spearheading the cloud movement, you know, how excited are we just from the technical standpoint of the multiplayer implementation? Like, do you want to see that, or does that not even excite you in the least? I
don't have an Xbox, so I maybe I'll have one when it comes out. I would like to get one if my wife would let me have one.
Wife, Lady Megan,
nobody tweet at her, please. I don't need any more. Nobody tweet at her, please. But you know, I have seen this game a total of, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think all of us have seen the game a total of 3 times. At the reveal, and then we saw it at E3 last year, and it was mostly Terry Crews. And during E3 week, we saw all those comedians playing it and riffing on it, and I was like, this is not how you show your game.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
This is not how you show your game. One, you've got people who clearly have never played a game in their life playing Crackdown 3. The physics were awful. Cars are like floating in the air, and you know, people, these unfunny comedians, by the way, are sitting here riffing on the game, and like, it was like Aaron Greenberg had like his sad Affleck moment where I just imagine the camera panning in on his face. It's just
hello, darkness, my old friend.
Exactly. Yeah. and so the game is ostensibly coming out in a matter of months. They said it's going to launch in spring 2018. Spring ends in June, so you've got February, March, April, May. That's 4 months, and I liken it to that Star Wars or Han Solo movie. I think it's going to be a disaster because it's coming out in May. We haven't seen hide nor hair of it. We haven't seen a single screenshot. It's the same thing with Crackdown 3. I think you're looking at a 5 out of 10. I think they salvaged it because Scalebound got canceled. I think it's going to be. I mean, there are rumors that the multiplayer is not going to launch with the game, and that's the whole reason you play Crackdown. Which tells me, I agree with Luca. That tells me that there is something wrong with the cloud, and it is not going the way they wanted it to.
Interesting, very interesting.
So, somebody asked me, John. Somebody says, John, do you think it's gonna be canceled? I was like, no, it's too late for that. If they cancel it now, that would be a worse crap storm. Not swearing.
Yeah,
it would be a worse crap storm than if you drop a game that's not good.
Yeah, I would agree. Shout out to Brad, Crackdown 3 Game of the Year. We're gonna move. We're killing Crackdown right now before it's even the baby's born.
It's stillborn. No.
We're gonna grab this one up on my topic, and it's pretty interesting to me. Obviously, as a Destiny guy, and when Anthem was Anthony, right? Look at my mind on Destiny too much. When Anthem was announced, it was shown at E3. The trailer looked pretty, impressive, and a lot of people were calling it the Destiny killer at the time. And it got a lot of hype behind it. Obviously, it was debuted on the Microsoft stage, and now it's come to find out that it will not be releasing on 2018. It's been pushed back to 2019. And yeah, clap for that. Games being delayed, hopefully to be improved. And yeah, there's going to be besides the realistic time date being pushed back, there's a lot going on right now at the studio. And Jason Schreier from Kotaku put out a kind of explosive article right now as far as referencing what's going on with BioWare and how pretty much EA, I don't want to say it's pressuring them, but there's a lot riding on success of Anthem. A lot of the studios kind of gotten together. They've stopped on the Dragon Age 4, and I believe it was another Star Wars game that those teams have kind of been pulled off, and it's been kind of all systems go for Anthem just to get that thing out. And there was some comments made about the climate at the studio right now. There's a lot of pressure. They're also upset about some YouTubers publishing kind of negative information about the game that supposedly is not true. Obviously, we have the whole EA inflammatory loot box, craze going on right now, where people are upset with EA and they're concerned because it's, under EA ship that, something might go wrong. So I wanted to bring this to the round table. Obviously, Iron Lord's podcast initially started off as a Destiny podcast, and
I would never have guessed.
I know, right? How would you put that possibly together with our name? Right?
I was like, man, these guys must love JRPGs.
So this game is of a lot of interest to us, and I just wanted to bring it. Do we think that Anthem can avoid the mistakes that Destiny is currently making right now? As you know, Destiny community is very upset. So I want to bring this to Lady Luca. I don't catch you as a person who plays Destiny often.
I have 8 days in Destiny too.
Holla, 8 days. Let's go. Okay. So my question to you is, one, how excited you were about Anthem initially, and then two, now with this news of the delay and possible things going on at the studio as far as pressure, what do you think of all this?
Well, I definitely think that they're scrambling. I think Battlefront 2 had bad press. It killed them. And I think Anthem had a bunch of loot boxes and all that stuff in it. And they're like, oh, we got to pull this back. We got to take this out. We integrated this into the game. We can't have this. We cannot suffer another blow. It's like after Andromeda and then Battlefront 2, I'm like, it's looking a little bad over there.
A little spooky?
Little spooky. It's looking a little spooky with these guys. So I'm hoping the game comes out and it's good. It's well received, but it's just like, man, it sucks because I love BioWare. You know what I mean? Like it really, really sucks that they went to the devil that is EA.
now here's the thing. Look, I just want to jump in on your point because I'm in the same boat as you. Because you're a Mass Effect girl. I'm a Mass Effect guy. Like that's my baby. And when I heard Casey Hudson is on it, that's the guy. Like that's Mass Effect. That's the glory years, not Andromeda. We gonna act like that didn't happen because that's not him. But
you also have to understand this probably means the death of Mass Effect. I don't think that franchise is coming back.
There's a very good point. And people are even saying this, Lord Negative, that the success of Anthem is so important that BioWare might not exist if this thing.
Oh, no, dude. No, I agree. If this is a failure, that could be catastrophic for BioWare. Because, I mean, Dragon Age doesn't have – it's a great series. I know the former creative director of Dragon Age, Matt Laidlaw. He's not with BioWare anymore. He's a good guy. But Dragon Age doesn't have the household – pull that the name Mass Effect it doesn't anymore. Yeah. But people are willing to overlook bad reviews and flaws because of a brand. Look at what happened with Battlefront 2. I agree with Luke in the sense that it killed them initially, but if you look at sales of Battlefront 2 after that, and when the movie came out, like it was a huge spike. It still ended up in it was like the number 5, I think, of the top best-selling games of the year. So a lot of people are buying it. A lot of people are playing it because it's Star Wars, so people are going to buy it. There is a lot of hype around Anthem. There is a lot of interest around Anthem because this is the A team, so to speak. But there's also a lot of doubt. I mean, you asked, can BioWare not repeat? Can they escape the problems or the mistakes that Destiny made or Bungie made at Destiny 2? They can. The real question is will they?
Yeah.
And with EA in the mix, I just don't know. I mean, it's all going to come down to whether or not they learn the lesson that was taught to them from Battlefront 2, and also write down a look. If anybody from EA is listening to this or BioWare, write down a list of everything Bungie did with Destiny 2 and
don't do it.
And don't do it. Do the opposite.
Shout out to B Money.
They're gonna do the exact same thing.
Shout out to B
I'm afraid they
Money.
will.
He made a good point. He said that it all started with them releasing Titan and Battlefield like within weeks of each other. Remember they made that mistake?
Yeah, that was scheduling, and they thought that certain IPs would be as strong as they are. They
was that a mistake though? Maybe they did that to what's the word?
I think they said
lessen the value of Respawn so they could buy them.
Yeah, I've heard that before, Luca.
That's a little too conspiracy theory for me. I will say that
EA is evil.
They are evil. There's I'm not going to tell you wrong about
evil.
that.
I wouldn't put anything past them.
I think it was more. I think it was more just. You know what? I think it was overconfidence. I think it was overconfidence in the IP. Well, not only is it, anticipating it, Titanfall 1 was very well received, but now we're on multiple platforms, right? And the game was sent out to die. Like they took that thing up behind the shed and put a bullet in the back of its head. And like somebody said, oh, well, Microsoft was intentionally, sabotaging Rise of the Tomb Raider, releasing it on the same day as Fallout 4. I'm like, no, that's just an idiotic decision. And I think it's the same thing with EA. I don't think they were trying to lessen the respawn or the value of Respawn, but I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe you're right, but I think everybody should be concerned because EA, as Lucas pointed out, they do not have a track record of what I would call measured decisions in the gaming industry.
You know what they do? They buy good developers, right? And then they force them to do these just shitty anti-consumer practices. And then when the game doesn't do well, they're like, "Oh, you messed up. I'm gonna close you down," even though it was their fault. It's like, what?
Let them know.
Like that, what? Like, I'm nervous. I'm worried. Like I'm worried about the next Dragon Age, even though I really like Dragon Age Inquisition. There's a lot of people who did not like it,
I liked it.
But I like Dragon Age Inquisition a lot. So I'm kind of worried about the next Dragon Age. But for Andromeda, there were signs that the game wasn't doing well because people kept leaving.
Well, not only that, Luca, but we didn't see it.
Exactly.
We didn't see it.
The faces were dead, man.
I mean, the first demo we saw of it, and it was like 7 months before the game launched, was the main character running through an empty hallway, and I was like, and that was it, and I was like, what?
And he looked like he was squat running.
Yeah, it was. He was doing that, that BioWare run.
The BioWare run.
Yeah. And it's funny. That's all the topic. Every one of these characters has a different run. Like Rockstar, their characters run weird.
Yes.
But he was running like he was holding a huge dump down this hallway.
The
memes was. And then the demo ended, and I was like, okay, this game is in trouble. And it was so bad. It was so bad. The Fallout was so bad that it killed the Mass Effect franchise. Yeah. Like if you love, and I love Mass Effect 2 is one of the greatest games I've ever played.
Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game ever.
Oh, it is one of the best games in the history of the medium. And this is how the series ended. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. And the exact same fate is waiting for BioWare if Anthem is not a massive success. And I don't mean success. It needs to be a massive success.
Yeah. I saw the run inside Anthem, and it didn't look like Dumpy Run. So I'm like, I felt a little bit.
People are saying, oh, this is the Destiny killer. I'm like, look, people will come back to Destiny 2. They will. And I play a lot of Destiny. I'll be the first person to tell you.
That's the most controversial statement you've made since you've been talking. You know that, right?
Another 10 minutes and another break, and we'll see. But no, like people will come back to Destiny 2. Look, people came back in droves for the Taken King. They came back in droves. They came back for Battlefront 2.
You think they got a Taken King in them? That's a Jordan double nickel.
I think they need to. I think they need
to.
And they keep messing up every update they come out with. They break something else, and it's just
it's ridiculous. Like it almost makes me think like they're deliberately sabotaging their game because they just don't want to work on it. I'm like, how do you keep?
Maybe they want to quit. Like you said, maybe they don't want to value. Maybe they want to devalue themselves.
It's that PC version. It's that PC version of Destiny that did it. Opened up a whole can of worms for people to get into the underbelly into the underbelly of that game and be able to because otherwise, if you're on the console side, You're not knowing these ratios. You don't know these ratios about this stuff. Like, so maybe they might be scratching their head as to why they did a PC version.
That's I told you. I told everybody the same thing. Once this PC community gets a hold of your game and they start ripping it up and finding out what you're cheating at, we didn't know they was throttling. Could you imagine? Could you imagine this, right? Destiny 1. And let these guys get a hold of the code of Destiny 1 and tell us all the things that Bungie was doing to us that we did not know, that we thought was good for us. You know, like, you got to really understand this. Is that conspiracy part of it? I would have never released a PC game. Me?
Shout out to Rap in the chat, man, releasing these codes, man. Shout out to Relevant Native. Thank you for the support. Really appreciate it. I want to get Solve in. I know he's been a little quiet as far as Anthem specifically.
What I have in terms of Anthem, we have to remember that BioWare is not the company that it once was. Like, the leadership is different. Like, apart from Casey Hudson,
but
like
Casey,
yeah, but the doctors are not there. The doctor's not in the house anymore. They're like, it's different. And again, like the influence of EA is evident, and there are very few developers in this day and age that are not one bad game away from being shut down or having massive layoffs. I mean, Naughty Dog is probably one of the few that I could just think of that they can have a so-so game or an outright flop, and then they might be okay.
They just did that.
And that just
wow.
What did they do?
Shots fired. Bang bang. Continue.
So it's one of those things where it's scary to me that they have to scramble so hard to make sure that Anthem is where it needs to be, and you're doing it at the expense of what Dragon Age has to be as well. Like like Megadeth said, it doesn't have the name recognition that something like an Anthem at this point does, because they've compared it so much to Destiny, and Destiny is such a big thing. And Dragon Age, although they've said something about it being a living world, and I don't know what that means.
Everything's a living world. That's what they all say. These open world games, it's a living world. Without
that's the world you can't pause and walk out the room because you're gonna die.
So it's scary to me that that all hands have to be on deck for this game, and the future of the developer is so tied to this one thing. So because it's an insane amount of pressure to be working under, to put out a good product, and in addition to be worried about your livelihood at the same time with everything that you do.
And the snitches are going to Jason Schreier saying that they are feeling that pressure.
Yeah,
Schreier got them connects over there.
And that's the thing that really bugs me. Is that. But not just talking about BioWare, but BioWare, Bungie, Respawn with Titanfall 2. Yeah. It's hard enough. AAA development is tough. I mean, people put in 80, 90-hour weeks. They don't ever get to see their families. And it's bad enough for these people having their games pulled apart and dissected and discussed. But what's even worse is the crap they put up with on social media and Facebook and forums. And so, which is why I try to temper my criticisms of Destiny 2 and BioWare. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, BioWare, I hope they go down. Loot boxes, because these, these are companies with men and women who have families, and they're working hard to do what they can to deliver you a decent product. And I think that's something, when we have conversations like this, that gets lost. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's the human element. And that's a good point. You're making a great point. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. These are people with lives. And if this studio closes, like I said, think of the history and think what would be lost, and no more Mass Effect.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is like no matter what happens with Anthem, no matter what happens, it could be Mass Effect 2 online, right? Like, which would be amazing. But even if it's Mass Effect 2 online, if it's better than that, there will be a group of people out there who it's not good enough. It's not good enough for them.
Tiki torches.
Yeah, they're gonna grab their tiki torches.
They're gonna grab their khakis and their tiki torches and they in the street.
Don't even get me started on that.
But listen, man. Okay, You guys are like looking at it from a weird perspective that every game environment must be a model world where it's candy and everybody's giving out marshmallows. Listen, I want all hands on deck. I want you to stop what you're doing over there. I want you to stop. I want you to get over here. This game has to be a success or you're fired. Do you understand this? This is what I want you to understand, and this is the environment I want you to work under. If you cannot work under this environment, you're not the best of the best, you need to leave. I want you to work under this pressure because the last games that y'all put out suck. We can't have it.
But this is the thing, though. That's a reality that happens in any work environment. The problem is that the issues that have caused them to be in this position are not necessarily the developer's fault, right?
Right. Do we know this to be fact, or is this something that we're speculating on?
9 times out of 10, if you look at these situations, especially with big corporations like an EA or an Activision, right? They're not the ones that are going to let you go and just do whatever you want. They're going to have a hand in everything you're doing. All this loot crate stuff, and this is coming from the top. They're looking at your artistic product and looking at how to monetize it.
That's why I'm just saying that that's what you're supposed to do as a company, and we keep looking at these people as evil and they're this and they're trying to keep the company afloat and make money and
understand that, but here's where I jump in looking like I understand that and it's a business, but my thing is once that starts affecting the creative process, and it's like, because look at what's going on with Destiny, and that's why I brought this topic up. It was so concerning to me because I'm like, they came out with Destiny 2 and literally did an about face on all the things or systems that were in place that people loved about Destiny 1.
But they told you though before you got it.
Not necessarily.
They said they blew everything up and you're starting from scratch and bring your face.
With the vault. Yes, with the vault. You are correct.
Yes. They said bring your face and that's all you got to do.
But what I'm saying is this, like when you used to play a strike or whatever, and you would get rare gear, now that stuff is like behind Eververse, right? You know what I'm saying? And then there was stuff that, when they did the math.
I mean, there's like ships and shit. Like the whole Eververse thing I think is
I know how you feel. Think it's a little overrated. We ain't going to go too
But you don't want that in Anthem. You don't want all these bad things that you've been dealing with. You want Anthem to be the purest second coming. Right. It's going to have its problems.
It's not going to be, though.
Right.
I've accepted that.
And I feel it. It's not going to be. It's going to be a game that's going to come out and it's going to have its flaws and it's going to have to grow. Will we allow it to grow? These people aren't allowing things to grow. They're killing it while it's still being born. I remember the anticipation for certain games before when we used to read Game Pro magazine or EGM and we'll be anticipating it. This time of tiki torches, these guys are out here and they're burning our stuff before we get a chance to touch it.
Yeah, let us touch it. You gotta give stuff a chance. I agree with that completely. All I'm saying is, and shout out to Lord Sam Tobin in the chat, is we can't ignore the elephant in the room with EA as far as their reputation for killing studios. It's kind of
if you don't perform, you die. This is battle sport, okay? If you're not performing well, this is gladiator business. If you're not performing well, you're executed. Goodbye. We close the door on you, and we're gonna poach your best guys, and we're gonna put them on another team. So what? Be better.
Consider the fact. What if Luca was right about what happened with Titan?
That is insidious. That's insidious.
If that was the case, and to be honest with you, I doubt it, but I wouldn't put it past EA to do something like that. Yeah. That's awful.
Yeah, it is.
That's insidious. Let's use that word, insidious.
Do you feel that Anthem has some hope? Do you feel they can avoid these mistakes of Destiny? What's your final take on it? We want that hot take.
Well, it's kind of hard not to mess up like Destiny 2 is messing up. In my opinion, it's pretty clear what they're doing is wrong and what they're doing wrong. I'm worried, but I just want it to be a good game. As long as it's a good game with good mechanics and a good story and it works, I think it'll be fine. And it's just kind of like, you just got to keep in mind that at the end of the day, these corporations, the only thing they care about is getting our money, and whatever destruction they have to put forth to get that, they're going to do it.
No doubt. Fair enough. So that's the Anthem. That's what I got. So we're gonna wrap this thing up soon. So obviously we have a new ILP poll this week. So obviously with our good friends, the Austrian retailer delisting all Xbox consoles following the recent Xbox Game Pass announcement. Do you think this will have a negative trickle-down effect on retail? The answers are A, yes, Game Pass threatens physical and retail markets. B, no, complete overreaction to the future of digital gaming. Or C, I don't care, I'm getting Game Pass to beat them exclusives and unsubscribe.
Wow.
Team Shallows in the building. That is the question. Those are the choices. Please rock the vote and hit the ILP Twitter polls. Lady Luca, an absolute pleasure to have you in the building. Where can the fine people find you?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and I'm definitely down to come back whenever you guys want me to.
Oh, absolutely. You're coming back.
Yeah, but you guys can find me at the Ashen Luca on Twitter and Xbox Live. You can find me at Lucy Quinn on PSN. I have a YouTube channel now, so if you look up the Ashen Luca or you just go to my Twitter, the link is in the description there. And you can also find me on the RDX podcast. That's Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Dealer Gaming's channel. And thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Love what you're doing out here. Please subscribe to her channel. She has some great, there's no topic that's not touched. Let's just say that. She goes in. I love it. I love the passion. Great follow on Twitter and also good friends at RDX. You know, she lays it down, very passionate in this community. We like to see what you're doing out there. So it's a pleasure to have. Of course, we will have you back. Now we got my man, Lord Megadeth, with the guest appearance. The new challenger has arrived, my man. Lord Megadeth with the Super Deformed Gamecast. Tell us what's going on and where can the fine people find you?
Well, just for Enrique in chat, I'll give you. I'll do it like a little Christopher Walken for you.
Let's go. Let's go, King of New York. Can I get King of New York?
Yeah, it was a great pleasure to be here on the Iron Lords podcast. Good time. I can't take myself seriously. I'm sorry. But by the way, next time I come on, I'll give you guys. I used to do that. I would do that, but do lines from games like Kratos. You know.
Oh, it's amazing. What you gotta do? You gotta give me the Plaza Hotel.
Yes, son has returned. I bring with me the destruction of Olympus. But anyway, we just did a big relaunch on our channel. You can find us at SDGC. And also, please go and subscribe to our new Twitch channel, which is where we do the majority of our podcasts and streaming now. That is twitch.tv/official SDGC. We would really appreciate it if you went and...
they had Shinobi on.
We just had, Shinobi's actually, he's a really good friend of mine. And we got just joined Wushu Studios. And really, really excited for him. I knew it was coming like a couple weeks before. I couldn't say anything on Twitter. But you'll be able to finish at PAX East. This will be the second PAX East in a row where we get our media credentials. And you'll be able to find me on a couple of panels that I can't talk about yet. But I am very excited to finally reveal those when the time is right. But that's it.
Awesome, man. Like I said, keep doing what you're doing. We like what SDGC is doing, growing out here, moving. Please subscribe to Twitch. That is their new home. Like I said, great show. And again, a lot of industry nuggets. And if you want to learn how things actually work, please pay attention to the SDGC. Great group of guys. So, of course, we got the usual suspects. We're going to wrap this thing up. Lord Saw, glad to have you back this week. It felt good.
Thank you,
Where can the fine people find you?
First off, man, big shout out to Lady Luca and Mr. Megadeth. I missed out on Megadeth the last time he was on the show, and then I've had the opportunity to be on 2 shows with him, man. Absolutely fantastic.
Did he give you the pie? Did he give you the pie?
I wasn't privy to Megadeth's like intros when he comes in with music, and when I was on BRAP, I was like, what the hell is going on? I didn't.
Once again, the stars align on a Wednesday.
Like, what the hell? So
I love it.
It took a second to realize what was going on. And Lady Luca is always fantastic. I think you're only the second female to be on our show, but it's always fantastic to see more women involved in the community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
You can find me at Lord Sav ILP on Twitter and BX Sovereign on both PSN and Xbox Live.
Absolutely. The premium gamer, Lord King himself. Where can the fine people find you?
I would like to say thank you to our esteemed guests for showing up. Lady Luca, thank you for showing up. It was a great show. Even the pre-chat was fantastic. And my man Deadpool, ooh, yo, listen, I don't care what anybody say. I swear to God, the first time I've ever seen him, I thought we had Ryan Reynolds on the show. I don't care what anybody says.
The islands ain't doing it that big just yet.
Yeah, but I looked over and I saw him pop up. I was like, my man, Mr. Negative, yay! So thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. It's fantastic. I love the banter between us, and it was a great show. You can catch me on Twitter. Just go to ILP and find me up in there, King David OTW. I'm right up in there, and Facebook and Instagram. Guys. We appreciate everything. We appreciate the chat. Oh man, it was fantastic today. Chat is lit. Listen, if you don't at me in the chat, I'm looking at stuff scroll up. I'll be honest with you. Right? Sometimes I might dive inside, but get at me in the chat and I'll definitely respond back to you. But thank you guys and everybody for showing up. It was a great show.
No doubt, Lord Cognito here. The gaming realness was spread. We had to tell you what you wanted to hear, but what you needed to hear. Again, thank you for the guests. Amazing. The Ashen Luca and Mr. Negative, awesome as well. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe to all the Inner Circle Network media outlets. We got the Multiverse up tomorrow. Also, the Iron Lord podcast audio will be going up on iTunes and SoundCloud. Please subscribe. Please hit a little review if you can. It would be much appreciated. We're out here trying to put good content out here in the community. So it's about 3:00 now. Everybody needs to enjoy their day and have a good time. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Bye.